Very bold. Everybody's on mute. So, Shaman Prabhu, just to give you a brief idea, not only we have people on our Zoom, but we also have a live streaming going on our ISKCON Boston channel. So I just want to give you this information. So there will be so many people who will be watching on our YouTube channel as well. Thank you. Hare Krishna. By the way, the topic of for His Grace Shyamananda Prabhu today is the 19th verse, 7th chapter, 7th canto, 9th chapter, and 19th verse. So I request Shyamananda Prabhu to please guide us now.
Hare Krishna, welcome everyone, and thank you for inviting me to your retreat. So I'll begin with the Mangalacharan prayers. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'll just read the Sanskrit first for 7th, 9, 19, 7th canto, 9th chapter, 19th verse. The chapter is entitled Prahlada pacifies Lord Narasimhadev with prayers. Balasya neha sharanam pitaro nasimha nartasya chakadam danvati majjato no taptasya tat pratividhirya ihanja srishtas tavad vibhotanumritam tvadupekshitanam. My Lord Narasimhadev, O Supreme, because of a bodily conception of life, embodied souls neglected and not cared for by you cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporarily beneficial, are certainly impermanent. For example, a father and mother cannot protect their child. A physician and medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient. And a boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. Here, Prahlada Maharaj, although a young boy, much more spiritually advanced than what seems from his physical appearance, is trying to put things in a proper perspective. His perspective, of course, is the fruit of mature wisdom imparted to him by his Guru Maharaj, Narada Muni. And how exactly? While he was in the womb of his mother. We will visit this point as to why this is significant in our understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's go through the purport. Srila Prabhupada begins by taking the example of remedy and disease, that whatever remedies people accept, perhaps temporarily beneficial, are certainly impermanent. So Prabhupada says here, through parental care, through remedies for different kinds of disease, and through means of protection on the water, in the air, and on land, there is always an endeavor for relief from various kinds of suffering in the material world. But none of them are guaranteed measures for protection. They may be beneficial temporarily, but they afford no permanent benefit. Despite the presence of a father and mother, a child cannot be protected from accidental death, disease, and various other miseries. No one can help, including the parents. Ultimately, the shelter is the Lord, and one who takes shelter of the Lord is protected. This is guaranteed. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9.31, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Therefore, unless one is protected by the mercy of the Lord, no remedial measure can act effectively. One should consequently depend fully on the causeless mercy of the Lord. Although as a matter of routine duty, one must of course accept other remedial measures, no one can protect one who is neglected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I can see a good connection between this particular point and what all of us all over the world are experiencing now. What we have now is called a pandemic. A pandemic goes beyond a an outbreak of a disease. At even a higher level, it becomes an epidemic. And then what we have is a pandemic. And of course, this is Kali Yuga. So, as aspiring Vaishnavas, did you notice the two most important features of this age? And they are quarreling, fighting, and hypocrisy. Kaler dosha nidhe rajan asati eka mahan guna. Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. So the blame game has started. You started this. No. You started this. No, this country, this lab. You are responsible. Fortunes are to be made. Elections are to be won or lost. Opponents have to be defeated. There are people who are cashing on, making conspiracy type videos. Who's behind this? What's going to happen? Srila Prabhupada is saying here that we may need to take, I'll just repeat his words verbatim, as a matter of routine duty, one must of course accept other remedial measures. I'm speaking from my experience here. At least two devotees in our community were saying, there is nothing like a virus pandemic, don't worry about it. I said, really? Yeah, absolutely nothing. It is all propaganda. So I was thinking, well, for sure there is an element of propaganda, but then to say that it is completely imaginary, that's also not true. And a close friend, a ashram inmate, yesterday afternoon informs me that one of his aunts, she's admitted in the hospital and she's declared positive. What happened? Well, somebody from some native place had come to meet them, and These people, when they went back, they were hospitalized. They were found to be having problems like breathlessness and cough, fever. So they became positive. So, in a worried mode, this lady also thought that I should go and check. And then the result was that she also is declared positive. So, from one point of view, what's happening is not unreal. And if we say that we can just chant Hare Krishna and the virus will go away, that's not going to happen. We may be devotees, we may be Vaishnavas, we have faith, but we also need to take care that we don't lose our common sense. How much do we emphasize on the common sense part, and how much do we emphasize on the faith part? Because common sense also comes through association of advanced transcendentalists. We find that none of our acharyas ever did anything independently. I think, therefore, this is good. No. Srila Prabhupada, even at the peak of his success, would say that I am nothing. I am just a humble servant trying to follow the orders of my spiritual master. So, don't lose your common sense. There is a letter where one devotee is asking Prabhupada questions. Maybe it was a repeatedly asked question or whatever, but Prabhupada said, for this particular thing, use your common sense. And then he adds, and if you don't have any, ask someone who has. So we should have the common sense to know who has common sense, and that also is good enough. Yes, so we move on to the next point. And now this is where I see sometimes Prabhupada's purports, they begin in the first gear and then they go to the second and the third and the fourth. So this is now Prabhupada upping the ante. Prabhupada is kind of putting the purport into a higher gear in this material world. Everyone is trying to counteract the onslaught of material nature, aren't we? And it's not just a pandemic where our labs and scientists are fervently working to come up with something, some kind of a treatment, some kind of a kit, some kind of a vaccination. This is going on since the time this material world started ticking. I appreciated this comment made by one of our ISKCON sannyasis that Maharaj, there are so many problems in this material world. So the answer was given. Do you know when the problems begin in this material world? The moment this world comes out of the pores of Mahavishnu, the problems begin. Oh, really? And when do the problems end? When do you finally say that, okay, now, today, at this moment, this particular time, I don't have any material problems? The answer is only when this universe goes back into Mahavishnu's body, the problems actually end. The problems end because there is no material universe left. So quite a pessimistic thought. Somebody would say that, why be so pessimistic about life? Look out, tomorrow morning, the sun will rise, the birds will sing, and blah, 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 blah. As devotees, we are supremely optimistic. Why? Because of the knowledge given by the bhakti text, because of the wisdom. And then at the same time, we are also supremely pessimistic. In fact, one mundane philosopher said, true maturity of wisdom means you can balance extremely opposing thoughts at the same time. Think about this. Two completely opposite thoughts, and you can balance them, you can hold them in your mind at the same time. That is considered a hallmark of maturity of wisdom. So, full faith that Krishna is there, Krishna is going to protect. How? That's up to him. And also, full understanding that as a rule, we cannot trust this material world. As a rule, we know for sure when we start driving, the signals will work, our car will work, the brakes will work. We have that faith, reasonable faith. But at the same time, we don't take Krishna away. Our faith in the machine, like I was in driving somewhere in America, and one devotee joked that I said, Prabhu, I think the speed limit says 60. Don't go beyond 60. He said, yeah, I know. But then the route is empty. There's nobody there. I can go, no problem. I know that above 70, and he had a Narsimhadev picture. He said, above 70, Narsimhadev leaves your vehicle. If you do something, and if you dash yourself against someone or someone against you, and if it is beyond 70 and the rule says 60, Narsimhadev says, I'm not part of the insurance policy anymore. I've already left the vehicle. So, putting a big Narsimha Pavitra in our neck and chanting Narsimhadev prayers and a big Narsimha Murti on the car dashboard, but still driving recklessly doesn't guarantee protection. So we have to be realistic. So now we understand that Srila Prabhupada is saying here, even though so-called philosophers and scientists try to surmount the onslaught of material nature, they have not been able to do so. This world is troublesome. This world has problems. That's for sure. Everybody knows what problems. But you try to ask someone, what's your problem? What would a drunkard say? What's my problem? There is no supply of liquor. What would somebody who just wants money would say? What's the problem? I'm short of cash. So this is the micro view. This is the view taken by someone without any wisdom. But when we are exposed to bhakti wisdom, there Krishna says, actually the problems are Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. In the history of the world, no one has been successful in conquering these miseries imposed by material nature. Prakrite Kriyamanani Gunai Karmani Sarvashaha. Nature is so strong that no one can overcome her stringent laws. So-called scientists, philosophers, religionists, and politicians should therefore conclude that they cannot offer facilities to the people in general. We see that Prabhupada had one kind of a single track mind, which he was, if you see Prabhupada memories, if you see the way in which ladies and gentlemen, all of them who came to take shelter of Prabhupada, how was to be like in the association of Prabhupada? Oh, just like a kindly father, like a grandfather, and sharing prasad, sharing emotions. Prabhupada would be giving one kind of instruction from the Vyasasan, which would look like a thunderbolt. But then if you go to ask him personally, he would give a very sweet, personalized kind of wisdom, something that would help you in your own spiritual life right now. So this episode where Prahlada is offering prayers, this is part of the 7th canto, which of course has the pastime where the Lord appeared as Narasimhadev, and Hiranyakashipu represents the highest development of material consciousness. I'll explain what that means. As a person wanting to enjoy this world, he was willing to perform any kind of sacrifice, to suffer any kind of austerity. I remember in my college days, there was an advertisement which said it was for a cigarette of all things. A cigarette company would show a very successful person, nicely clothed in three-piece suit. That means saying that he could be a businessman or a successful corporate person. And the graphic line was, I get what I want. And one of our marketing professors said that, look, this is real good copy. This is real good, catchy headline. I get what I want. Isn't this the story of all of us? That we also have this idea that what if I get all that I want? Imagine for a moment somebody gives you a like Aladdin's lamp, an old dusty lamp, and you say just rub it, and a jinn will come and he will ask you that I'll give you anything. Right now, what will you ask if somebody gives you a chance? Anything. You might say, wait a minute, I need to go to my order list. I have a list nicely kept in some notebook somewhere. Friends, Hiranyakashipu was someone who actually got what he wanted. And he paid for it in full. How? His tapasya was standing on his toes, arms upraised, for 100 celestial years. No eating, no sleeping, not even sitting down. Ants started growing around his body. They started crawling up his body. They started eating his flesh. Half of his flesh was already eaten by ants. And then fire started coming from his forehead. And all the great personalities were asking Lord Brahma, do something. We don't know what this guy wants. So Brahmaji went with his Kamandalo. He took the celestial water, sprinkled on Hiranyakashipu. His body became beautiful, strong like steel. So all these years, Hiranyakashipu had not experienced a single bit of sense gratification. And now he's saying, I don't want death. My Lord, make me immortal. Let's see how honest Brahmadev is. He's the first created being. There is no other person equal to him. He's called Pitamaha, the grandfather. He said, son, even I am not immortal. So just like a person expert in law, if you can't get it straight, get it in a crooked way. So Hiranyakashipu thought, what are the ways in which people die? My brother was killed by Lord Varahadev. So he said, let not any animal kill me. Then he knew that Ravana was killed by Lord Ram. So he said, let not any human being kill me. Then he knew that Vishnu comes with his chakra. He said, let not any weapon kill me. Let me not die during the day or during the night, above or below, inside or outside, day or night, neither here nor on any other planet. What remained then? He said, now I got it. I have plugged all the ways in which people die, so now nobody is going to kill me. So if Hiranyakashipu represents the full development of material consciousness, Prahlad Maharaj represents the fullest development of divine consciousness. We'll spend some time on this duality of divine versus demoniac. Our Vedic scriptures, they define what divine is, but they don't define what is demoniac. Vishnu Bhakta Smrito Daiva. Anyone who wants to become a Vaishnav, Vaishnav technically means belonging to Vishnu. We mark our forehead with tilak, which means this body also belongs to Vishnu. We offer the results of our efforts in the kitchen as food is offered to Krishna. Our money is offered to Krishna. Our game plan is ultimately I want to offer everything to Krishna. Why? Because I am very munificent, I am very charitable? No, I am being very intelligent. I have understood what is the source of what I want to live in this world, and I say a thank you. Now, isn't saying thank you something which we teach our children? At least my parents would always insist that be courteous. You got something, did you say thank you? So similarly, the Vedas are teaching us that you got this body, you got some career. Have you said thank you? So Vaishnavism means a whole life dedicated to showing gratitude. And by the way, today's psychologists and psychotherapists have found out that anyone who is profusely expressing gratitude every day, that is your biggest insurance policy against any kind of mental disease. Sounds strange. Most of you listening are in America, and most of you have come from India. So you have seen both aspects of life. You have seen the abject poverty and the lack of development in infrastructure in India. And you also are seeing the highest development of material life, well, as much as possible in America. Then why are not all, not most, but many, in spite of having the highest standard of living, still dependent on thought-changing drugs? I am not talking of recreational drugs. I am talking of clinical prescriptions. So today's America also proves the value of how not to do, how not to lead a life according to Hiranyakashipu's way of life. So he knew what he wanted. He performed tapasya. And what did he do after performing tapasya? He just went on opposite mode. A complete life of sense gratification. Prahlad Maharaj describes how day in, day out, he would be angry, arrogant, drunk on very strong liquors. We say, Prahlad, that could be, but at least he would be happy a little bit. Prahlad says, no. Sada samudvigna diyam, always disturbed. So when you say you get what you want, you also get what you don't want. We had a case study of many years ago in college of a famous company called Philip Morris. They make the Marlboro brand of cigarettes. Perhaps it is there, perhaps it's not there, I don't know. But these Marlboro cigarette ads on TV, they always had a Marlboro man. a very dashing, handsome looking person. And every 10 or 12 years, they changed their model. Why? So from the 50s to the 90s, there were something like 4 or 5 Marlboro men, all cowboy type, handsome, fit body. And of course, they would be smoking Marlboro cigarettes. They all died of lung cancer. Only then the industry woke up and people started slapping lawsuits. And you very well know in America, there was much money made in cheating to the public and lying to the public, and the cigarette companies would be there to give them millions of dollars. So all the lawyers were on the side of the companies. And then 25,000 people filed a class action lawsuit, and the lawyers thought that, hey, there is more money made in hitting back at the companies. So suddenly all the lawyers were on the side of the cancer patients. That, oh, we really care for public health. Oh my God, it's very bad. It's very bad. These corporates have to be brought down. And of course, there was a multi-billion-dollar settlement. So you and me very well know the lawyers are on nobody's side. They are on the side which pays them more money. So you get what you want in this material world. You also get what you don't want. It is part of material life. Second point, Prahlad Maharaj, excuse me, he was asked by Lord Narasimhadev, Prahlad, my normal behavior is whenever I come, I give a benediction. Would you like something? He said, no. Something? No, no. Please, I said, please take something from me. And Prabhupada very nicely explains in one of his classes that my father did everything to get what he wanted. He got what he wanted. He was still frustrated, and I saw all his bones destroyed within a moment. So why should I care? The boons are not which were protecting him. It is you. You protected Brahma's words up to a certain limit. When somebody crosses the limit, you have all power to do the needful. So my policy in life is, I am not going to go and ask anyone for benedictions. We have a very nice example of a sannyasi in India. By Krishna's arrangement, he left his body just 1 year after sannyas. His Holiness Gaur Krishna Maharaj, a young disciple of, young in the sense he was 50 years old. So he took sannyas in the month of March, and that year's Kartik, he left his body in Vrindavan. In his whole Bhagavad summary also is available online. Anyone of you who likes to hear in Hindi, please, I do highly recommend that. It is an ISKCON Desire Trees audio file, 47 audio files, and he takes you on a journey from the first canto to the 12th. The flow is like the Ganga flowing rapidly. It doesn't stop for a moment at all. So he made a nice point that when Narasimhadev was pressing Prahlad, ask something, ask something. He said, okay, I can ask one thing. And Narasimhadev joyfully said, what's that? Let me not have any material desires. So we come to the final point of our discussion. Prabhupada makes this point about how there is no one who can protect you, how Krishna says, my devotee never perishes. Third point is we have to take remedial measures depending upon our particular situation. So the solution Prabhupada gives here is that there should be vigorous propaganda to awaken, to propagate the Krishna conscious movement all over the world, which is the only remedy that can bring about a peaceful and happy life. We can never be happy without the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Tvad upekshitanam. Upeksha means neglect. And just see how sweetly Prabhupada says in the last line, if we keep displeasing our Supreme Father, we shall never be happy within this material world in either the lower or the upper planetary systems. So, from one angle, our philosophy is not that complicated. When I joined the Hare Krishna temple here, one devotee gave a class and he said, he quoted Prabhupada that during the New York days, early days, Swamiji, what's your philosophy? This our philosophy is chant Hare Krishna, which is easy, right? Dance in Kirtan. Oh, good. Chant Hare Krishna, dance in Kirtan, and if you're tired, take some prasad. Is that all? So, yeah, that's all basically. Oh, and if you are curious or you are a bit, what do you say? You are a bit complicated that why chant Hare Krishna? Why not some other god or some Baba or some this or some that? And why offer food only to Krishna? Then, in order to convince you, we have 80 books, 1,000 pages each. So, there is philosophy if you are complicated. If you are not complicated, you don't need to read too much of philosophy. This basic philosophy of Gita and Bhagavad is more than enough. So, this is something which we can do even in the pandemic age. We chant Hare Krishna, we have Kirtan, we distribute prasad, and as Prabhupada says, it's our duty to be peaceful and happy. In the genuine way, I was in Mayapur and one English devotee from England was giving a class and he said, a businessman goes to a psychotherapist and he says, I'm not happy. He says, what do you mean not happy? I'm not happy like the people in the TV ads. You see all your YouTube ads, how people get the new car and they're happy, the new clothes and they're happy. They dine at the new restaurant, they get the new takeaway, the new gadget, the new iPhone. Then I'm not happy like them. That's true. You will find such happy people only on the billboards. In real life, no one is happy like that. But as devotees, it is our business to be peaceful and happy. How? By taking up the process which is given by Prabhupada. So I will end here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I think we have about 10-15 minutes or so. If somebody has any queries or comments, corrections, you're most welcome.
I think those who want to ask a question, they can raise their hands and then you can unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I had one question, Prabhuji.
Yes.
It is a bit of a more general question on Lord Narasimha Leela,
Yeah.
Hiranyakashipu and Lord Narasimha. So my question was, how does it imply when Hiranyakashipu asked for those benediction that he should not die, he should not die in certain situations, neither in day nor night, and so many criteria he gave.
Yeah.
How does that imply that he became so powerful? I mean, when he asked for benediction, that I couldn't understand how Hiranyakashipu became so strong that he started overpowering others with those benedictions, because I couldn't see the relation between the benedictions and power.
Okay. Tapasya is the currency. Like anybody having millions of dollars in his bank, he can buy things, he can take mortgage, he can do whatever. Similarly, in the cosmos, how does one gain power? How does one gain influence? You do that with tapasya. Tapasya is beneficial for demons as well as demigods. Demons use it to become powerful and then try to trouble others. like a AK-47 assault rifle in the hands of a soldier, he can protect people. In the hands of a terrorist, he can kill innocent people. So the bullet is not good or bad. The gun is not good and bad. It is the person, the mentality. So he performed his tapasya, and then the Bhagavatam describes how Lord Brahma, when he put some celestial water on his body became supremely powerful. And with that strong body, with the strong tapasya backing him, then he started to gain followers and then trouble others. So the more serious your tapasya, the more stronger you become mentally, the more powerful you become. So on the basis of this power, he started becoming more and more influential. In fact, if you read carefully, his influence was such that he inquired, what happens to those who give charity and who perform puja in the temple and who support the brahmanas? So the answer was given, well, they go to heaven. He said, okay, I want a small change in the software code there. So what change do you want, sir? Those who kill others, those who perform sinful activities, they should be going to Swargalok, and those who perform charity and puja, they should be pushed down to Narakalok. This was his audacity. This is what he wanted to change. So you can imagine how much powerful tapasya is. In fact, you and me also perform tapasya. Prabhupada said, following 4 regulative principles in Kali Yuga is tapasya. He said once, reading my books is tapasya. Not because they are dry or something, but many times people say that when I start reading Prabhupada's books, I feel dejected. Every single paragraph kind of gives me a punch, then a hook, then a upper left, then a lower cut. So it's like, why Prabhupada always has to say, fools and rascals, and while many other so-called religious leaders, they say, oh, you are great. You have all the wisdom in you. You are practically God yourself. Just wake up. So that is soothing for the false ego. But Prabhupada's purports, they are not like that. One devotee said, and you can check out in your life also, you all know Dettol, which is like a disinfectant, which your president was trying to make you drink or inject in your body, which became a big joke a few days ago. So nothing against Dettol, but you rub Dettol on your skin and the skin is flawless. It appears cool because there is industrial alcohol in it, and alcohol causes evaporation, and that evaporation gives a cooling effect. What happens when there is the skin is broken or there is a wound? That same Dettol brings pain. You cringe. Oh, it burns. So one devotee compared that Prabhupada's purports are like Dettol. And if you don't have sense gratificatory desires in your mindset, then when you read, you feel happy. It's a cooling effect. But to the degree that you have desires to dominate material nature or to enjoy this world, to that extent, you will feel angry when you read a purport. So don't blame the purport, blame your desires. And the more you read, the more you get convinced, because reading pure wisdom, reading pure consciousness, Prabhupada's words are his consciousness. He says these words are my private ecstasies. Prabhupada's public ecstasies were when he used to chant in public, one time just chanting Radha Madhav, and he became stunned. But the Bhaktivedanta purports, the timing was 12:50 a.m., 1:15 a.m. Everybody around him is either sleeping or completely inert. And during that time, Prabhupada would be dictating his purports, and he said, these are my private ecstasies. So, coming to our main point, that why do we see that simple devotees who just follow the regulative principles, chant Hare Krishna, and they start preaching and they get success? Because tapasya will always be rewarded no matter what. And we also see sometimes powerful devotees, they can control like a whole group of people or a whole continent, and after some time something happens, they don't have that kind of influence anymore. Why? Because sometimes pride comes in, sometimes you feel I am doing that kind of preaching. So tapasya always gives you influence. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Thank you very much for it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your insightful lecture right now.
Thank you.
The Prahlad Maharaj, he was inundated with so many different sort of punishments by his father, and he was still an embodiment of, I guess, in one way, tolerance, faith in God, but also tolerance, because he also, asked Narsimhadev to, forgive his father's actions and all that. So, in order to apply that to our life, when we are in situations where we are in friction with other devotees or even non-devotees, there's a huge emphasis on tolerance in Vaishnavism. So, and I know even Prabhupada mentioned about cooperation and everything else. So keeping that on one side, and on the other side, if being in that situation sort of brings us down in our devotional practice, or puts us more in the path of anarthas, because we end up being negative. So in such a situation, should we still try to be tolerant in a way of testing ourselves and our cooperation and putting ourselves in that position, or should we be more selfish and be outside that, pull ourselves outside that situation till we are strong enough to endure it?
Okay, let me see if I have understood your question, and if I have not, then you can clarify. Tolerance and tapasya, these are so-called therapeutic practices. They help us. So let's take the Olympics or the world sports events. There are people who have dedicated their entire lives for, like if it's a gymnast, then bending your body, stretching your body. If it is a runner, then slowly improving your stamina. If it's a swimmer, then again, daily 6 hours, 8 hours of practice. We see movies where somebody has to grow his body and gain 30 pounds and then do martial arts training and do shooting with assault rifles training and horseback riding and jumping from a helicopter. Why do they do that? They say, well, I was offered $15 million, so I have to keep myself fit. I have to play the role of a special services commando or whatever. And vice versa, we have people who have shed 40 pounds in 6 months just to show a impoverished, poverty-stricken person, and both get accolades, both get claps from people. So, wow, what a role this person played. So try to think of Krishna consciousness as the battle between the false ego and the real ego. What is a false ego? Ego is there. There are people who say, kill your ego. It's not possible. Killing the ego is like stabbing air with a sword. Whom are you trying to defeat? Or at worst, killing your ego is like spitting above on someone, whatever you feel like. You say, God, I don't care about you. But then you spit on somebody who's not there, the spit falls on you. So the false ego is the false notion that I need to do something to enjoy my life here. There is no one who's my well-wisher. Nobody is going to help me. I have to do things myself. This is a big burden. The real ego is, I am a part of Krishna. Krishna is like the ocean. I have all the three qualities which Krishna has. Krishna has a body which is never going to die. Krishna's body, when I say body here, you have to use the word body, but actually it's not a material body which Krishna has. Fully cognizant, full of knowledge. And the third and most important thing is, Krishna's own Swarup is the source of bliss. So just see what the liberating statement this is, that I am the same as Krishna is. I am also actually Satchitananda. But why today I am Asat Achit Nirananda? I am not eternal. I don't even know how my hair grows or why I am having a headache. I don't know that. How my nails grow. I don't know that. What to speak of other big questions like, where did the coronavirus come from? Nobody knows that. And of course, perhaps people may not agree with the first two things, but the third one, is my body the source of happiness for me? Check it out yourself. So this battle between the true ego and the false ego is always going on. Now, when you are told that tolerate, 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 it is within the limits of the process. You are always told to tolerate things which are helpful in your spiritual growth, but don't tolerate injustice. And you and me, we are all products of this age. Our mindset is a product of Kali Yuga. So if something is wrong, we are quick to blame others. If something has been done nicely, we are quick to claim credit. We are all part of it. Some of us are more guilty, some of us are less guilty, but we are all part of the game. So I have seen in the last few years of my experience here in the Krishna consciousness movement that sometimes people do not tolerate even for a simple thing which is fit for being tolerated. And sometimes they go on a prolonged journey of so-called tolerating injustice, and then they give up the process altogether. Is there a way out? Of course there is. Vaishnavism is a whole package. It is not just me, my chanting beads, and Krishna. That's all. I don't need anybody else. No. Rupa Goswami comes and tells us that, I told you, why don't you disclose your mind confidentially to someone whom you trust? Now, at one point of time, people say, I don't trust anyone. All right. Why don't you pray to the deities that send someone whom I can trust? Krishna says, I am fulfilling everybody's desire since time immemorial. I am fulfilling the desires of those who don't even want to do bhakti. So those who want to do bhakti, why won't I fulfill their desires? And if the desire is so sweet and sublime, like send me someone whom I can trust, Krishna does that. So just like a lump in the throat can be because of some spicy thing you ate yesterday, or it could be a malignant tumor. Who decides that? We take shelter of some expert advice. Similarly, the default setting should be that whatever comes my way, I will tolerate. That should be the default setting, the factory setting, as they say. But if things become too much, you can disclose your mind. Take expert guidance. Of course, our mind is such that we can go to 4 people, and if 3 of them say that actually it is your fault, we say they don't really understand. Then we go to the fourth one and he says, I think it is the other guy's fault. This person really understands me. So please don't do like that. Number one, check your mental health, spiritual health. Step two is take guidance. Step two is to read Prabhupada's purport, see if something is there which suits your particular case. And three is take expert guidance so that your level of tolerance is something which helps you in your spiritual life, but this doesn't go in the territory of injustice. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, you're amazing at human psychology. Thank you so much.
No, not at all.
Very grateful. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So I think we are at the very end. It is 6:27 my time. That means it must be 8:57 your time. Any
Yes,
last comment or something? Yes, Prabhu. I think somebody is there online.
Haribol.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, why the seventh canto is called as the inclination, Uti?
Why it is called Uti? I think some acharyas have commented that excuse me, Uti is nourishment, how Krishna nourishes the universe, and by giving Prahlad complete protection, Krishna also nourishes the consciousness of bhakti, and that is what I have heard. I'm not a great scholar of Srimad Bhagavatam, by the way. You must have already noticed that, but I borrow, beg, and steal wisdom from wherever I get. So this particular thing that like there is nourishment in the form of Krishna giving grains, Krishna giving regular rains, but here the nourishment is in the form of that even if you have an adversary in the form of Hiranyakashipu, I am there to nourish your faith and I'm there to protect you. That's what I've heard.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So my obeisances to all of you. Have a very good night. If you're on the East Coast or somebody from other parts of the world, if you're in the daytime, like in India, good morning. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to serve you. Hope to serve you in a similar capacity sometime in the future. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please accept my obeisances. Vancha kalpataru bhascha kripa sindhu patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo. And a big thank you